Hiya, it's Monday morning. I hope you've all had a good weekend. The weather is absolutely tremendous today. Blue skies, not a cloud in the sky. I'm just up in the borders, I've gone through Kelso just now. I'm about 20 minutes, half an hour away from the 14 tonner. You will have, unfortunately, you'll have seen this 14 tonner before. It was working just south of Edinburgh 3 weeks ago, and it was the one with the wiring fault. So yeah, thought we'd got that one knocked on the head, put that one to bed. It appears to have thrown another error code up. So I got the phone call on Wednesday. The job that he was on was to finish on Friday, so the customer's got the machine lifted and it is back in his yard, so it's not just as far as for me to travel. Yeah, I've had a bit of time to think about it, and I did sort of think, well, I'm going to put this in the videos, but I think a true reflection of a day in the life of a day in the life of a plant mechanic, digger mechanic, whatever you want to call it. These things do happen in the real world. It's not all just blue skies and sunshine. So yeah, I'm heading back to it, unfortunately. It's just one of them, you think you've got to the bottom of it, you don't hear from it for 3 weeks, everything seems alright when you're there, and yeah, evidently it isn't. I mean, it might just be a completely different fault. I mean, when it does throw faults, it's just engine warning, check engine. So it could be completely unrelated, but I've got a feeling the intermittent fault is even more intermittent now, and that does make it harder to get to the bottom of. So I'll meet you when we get up there, and we'll see what we can find. Certainly one of the worst parts of doing this job is these intermittent faults. You know, they might not always be current and active while you are there on site, and you might find something that isn't right, like we have done, and we'll put that right, but that might not be the root cause of the fault. So yeah, it is frustrating. We're at the yard now, we're just warming the machine up. Apparently it does it more when it's warm and when it's tracking about, so we're just getting it warmed up. But of course, yeah, I've got it here and it's not playing up at the minute, so we'll have to see. Right, that's him running it up and down the yard. So when I got here there was no error codes, no fault, machine was behaving perfectly, and he worked it for an hour, up and down the yard, still nothing. Been in under the belly plates, wiggling wiring, all sorts, can't get it to fault. I'd fetched a bit of engine loom with us. I've had issue with the ECU plugs, the wiring going into the ECU plug before. So I stripped the ECU plug and had a look at it again. There was nothing that made me say, oh, that's the problem. The owner says I just fire that loom on it. So we put the loom on it. Yeah, it's just running it back and forwards now. See what happens. So he was telling us when he was on site and it was misbehaving, it would do it after about 20 minutes of the machine starting up, and the hydraulic oil temperature would be sort of, I don't know, just below the first bar, and it would start messing around. So we're well above that now, we're just tracking about. He's away to have his lunch. I'm going to do it for another 15 minutes or so before I pack up and head away. But yeah, it's, like I say, it's just one of those jobs where it's not much fun. Right, it is absolutely lovely around here. Had to be away from the machine now. The fault was when the machine was working, the communication between the EPOS, which is in the cab, and the ECU was failing, so they weren't able to talk to one another. So there's a plug underneath the cab which I've pulled out and checked. There was nothing in there that I could see that was green or a poor connection in there. The next point where it joins onto is there's 4 plugs at the back of the counterweight. They sit quite low down. That machine has been in a river dredging, and although the pins were clean and everything like that, it doesn't take much. Can networks rely on a resistance of 60 ohms, and if there's a bad connection or a weak connection in there and it gives a slightly higher resistance, it can mess those messages up between the controllers. So I've replaced the wiring loom on the engine side. Like I say, the pins and the ECU weren't that clever either, so we've done that. Yeah, that customer, he runs 20-25 John Deere tractors. He's got potato harvesting equipment, self-propelled potato harvesters, and he also has his plant and skip hire as well, so his trucks and telehandlers and all sorts, so he knows exactly what it's like to run machines and come up against these sorts of problems. So he's been very understanding about it, and you know, I've known him for a few years now, so he knows that I'm not just there to kind of bodge it and scarper, and you know, these things happen. So it does make a difference when you've got somebody that understands sort of what you're up against. I don't want to see that machine now until it's either due a service or it has something completely different wrong with it, but let's hope I don't have to see that machine again this year, maybe, yeah? Right, it's just after 3:30 now. I've just stopped with some diesel there. I've still got an hour and a half to get back through to Carlisle, so we're going to call it a day there. Thanks very much for watching. Sorry it's not been maybe the most interesting video with regards to showing you problems and how we've overcame them and things like that. The honest truth is that, well, I don't know if that machine's going to be any better or not. I mean, you can only work it digging fresh air and tracking about the yard for so long before you have to get away. So I'm sure the next week or so we will find out if that machine has decided to behave itself. Business as usual tomorrow. I've got 1 or 2 things to get done tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and also if you haven't already, go and check out the Instagram page. There's pictures in between videos, videos obviously every Monday night, Wednesday night and Friday night. Alright, see you tomorrow.